JBH Boutique Care offers you a unique exclusive membership in our nationwide concierge medical services network. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Judine Bontemps-Hill. I'm double board certified in family and obesity medicine. We pair exclusive personalized care with accessibility and convenience. A better way for you to receive immediate quality medical care. Whether at our main Orlando, Florida office, traveling across the U.S. or visiting the States, we bring you the best medical care without waiting for an appointment. Become a member today by calling 407-234-5282 or visit us online at jdhmed1.com. JBH Boutique Care is proud to sponsor Sounds of the Diaspora, music and conversations with artists, and host Dion Parson every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Source TV Radio Network, WTSN, Washington, D.C.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of Sounds of the Diaspora, Artist to Artist, conversation with yours truly, Dion Parson. I'm really excited tonight to have the special guest on. Joining me in conversation, we go way back, traveled the world together, recorded a number of CDs, and he's a giant in the music industry, doing great things. Please join me in welcoming Sounds of the Diaspora, bassist, composer, arranger, educator, and painter. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but let's welcome Mr. Gerald Cannon.
Hey. So,
what's going on, Gerald?
You, my friend, my brother.
My brother.
Yes. Yeah.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. How's it going?
Very good. Good to see you too, man.
Yeah, things are good in New York.
Things are good. School just started back at Juilliard, and next week Oberlin, and had a great vacation this summer. It's been a month in Italy, gigging and chilling and eating good food.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And don't forget the coffee.
And the coffee, of course. And the vino.
And the vino. Good times,
yeah.
man. It's good to see you, bro. It's really good to see you.
You too.
You know, it's funny, man. In New York City, we're like blocks away from each other. We never see each other at all. You know?
Yeah.
Come to St. Thomas to come to check you out.
Yeah, and everybody's doing their thing, man. You know how it is here.
It's called life. Life. But it's a beautiful thing. You got so many things going on, man. Ever since I've known you, you've always stayed busy, stayed active, have a number of projects going on and stuff. But one of the things that I've always admired about you, Gerald, is that you never forgot about where you came from. You know, you always talk about growing up and the wonderful musical upbringing you experienced as a child and as a young adult and getting to New York. You mind sharing some of that with our guests, our artists, our audience?
Sure. I started playing the bass, electric bass, at a very young age, at 9, 10 years old. My father was a gospel musician, played guitar, and he always had gospel quartets. And they always rehearsed in our basement of our home every Wednesday. And my dad had this collection of guitars, really good Gibson guitars,
Mm-hmm.
And he'd always tell me before he went to work, "Don't touch my guitars. If you're playing my guitar, I'm gonna whoop you." Of course, as soon as he left to go to work, the first thing I would do is run down in the basement and start
of course
with his guitars, Well, one day he came home early from work and caught me. And I heard him coming down the steps, and it was I couldn't. Too late. There's nothing I could do, And so he said, "Boy, didn't I tell you don't be touching my guitars?" I was like, "Yeah." So, "Can you play that thing?" I said, "Yeah, a little bit." He said, "Play something. You better play it good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna whoop your, you know what, So actually, what I did was I just played the first 4 strings, and I was playing the bass lines that I used to hear my Uncle George sing in my father's gospel group.
Okay.
Uncle George sang bass in this gospel group, you know. And he always sang things like outside of the tonal center. And even when I was a kid, that caught my ear. And
Right.
so my dad was like, wait a minute, do that again. So I did it again. He's like, put my guitar up, go upstairs and get your coat. So I don't know. I was like, well, I was just glad I was going to get a whooping. You know what I mean? So I ran up and got my coat. And he took me to Mel Lamar's music store on Racine Street and to pick out a bass. I was like, what? He said, pick out a bass. So, you know, I've always been kind of infatuated with the look of an upright bass.
Mm.
Even though at 10, I had only seen it a couple of times. It's just something about it. So I picked up this Hofner bass, which is shaped like an upright bass. It's actually the same bass Paul McCartney used in the Beatles. It's got a
Okay.
stroke, everything, you know. And I said, I want that one. He said, boy, pick out a Fender. So I picked out a Lake Placid Blue 19, I think it was 62 or 63 Fender Jazz. And the reason I picked that one out is because the Jackson 5 were very prominent then.
Mm.
Jermaine Jackson had a Lake Placid Blue Fender Jazz.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how I got started. I started playing, you know, rehearsing every Wednesday with my dad and playing at church every Sunday. And he wouldn't let, you know, I couldn't do any gigs until I was 18. I could rehearse with all the funk bands in my hometown, and I'm from Racine, Wisconsin.
Mm.
And there were, you know, everybody's parents had a gospel group, or the teenager kids had funk and R&B bands.
Right.
So when I got good enough, I go to the rehearsals, and you know, they were like, "Come on, man, you got to let your." I said, "My dad's not gonna let me do it." And they, you know, they would send over their old jackleg managers, you know, who were like just, you know,
to talk to your pops.
Yeah, my dad would be like, "No," I'd be around the corner. I'm like, They're like, "No, that boy ain't playing, you know, until he's 18. You're not getting messed up with the old nasty girls and dopes and all that stuff." So, but when I was 18, I did my first gig with a band from home, and it was a battle of the bands, and it was in Milwaukee, which is like a half an hour away from my hometown, at the Eagles Ballroom, and we won.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Nice.
thought I was rich, man. I got $40 for that gig.
Imagine that, how that money used to look good back then, right?
Oh man, 1975, I think it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's how I got started, you know, and you know, my whole childhood. My brother also sang with my father, and immediately my father, you know, I started taking electric bass lessons, and my brother started taking voice lessons and acting lessons. My brother was an actor.
Okay.
So we were kind of the oddballs in our family because we were taking music, and my brother was studying, you know, acting and stuff like that. And so I was just, man, I was hooked. When I got my own bass, I slept with that thing, man.
Yeah, wow.
My mother used to say, like, "Boy, get that thing out of the bed. You're gonna break your neck on it," you know. But I loved it, and that's how I got started, man. Pretty much.
And you went to college for music, right?
I did, but my first, because I was an athlete too. I played football and basketball in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So my first college I went to was the University of Wisconsin La Crosse. But I went there to play. I had like a semi-basketball scholarship, and I went there to play basketball. I was going to be a gym teacher. Dig that. Yeah, I was going to be a physical education teacher, man. It's all set. And while I was there, I had to pick an elective course to take. So, like I said, I was always infatuated by the upright bass. So I just took classical double bass, you know, just like as a fill-in.
Right.
And what happened there is something that's very special. I really got into it. I mean, I started skipping all my other classes and shedding all the time, right? And my bass teacher, whose name was Linda Brewer, she was a concert cellist, you know. And one day she said, "Hey, you know, they have Jazz Week this week at here on campus, and there's somebody I want you to meet. Have you ever heard of Milt Hinton?"
Wow.
I said, "No, I never heard of him. You know, only bass player I had ever heard of was Ray Brown. You know, because he was on the Merv Griffin show."
Right.
Now, me and my dad watched him every day. But anyway, so She goes, well, I already talked to his manager, and I told him about you, and I want you to come to the concert with me and my husband. I said, okay. So I went to the concert, and I'm sitting in between my teacher and her husband. Milt walks out, grabs the bass, and man, I had never seen anybody do that. Of course, I hadn't seen that many bass players.
Right. Upright bass players on that.
Upright bass players. Yeah, I was always studying electric, but the things he did and the sound he got and the joy that he had playing the bass and it got across, and I was in shock. I was sitting there with my mouth open the whole concert, right? Mm-hmm. Right in the front row. And when they finished, she said, come on, we got to go backstage. Milt wants to meet you. I was like, what? You know.
The judge.
The judge. Yeah. You know, so we go back there and Milt's sitting in there, you know, with his suspenders and, you know, come on in, son. You know, I go in there. He says, your teacher tells me you're pretty good. Yeah. I was like, well, you know, I don't know, you know. Just grab my bass and play something. Yeah, it's like, well, Mr. Henson, you know, more of an electric player. He said, no. Play whatever your teacher showed you. Mm. So the only tune I knew was this classical piece called the Woodland Waltz, which is pretty corny. But anyways, I mean, I still remember it. But so I played it. And then he said, well, just play a blues off the top of your head. So the only blues I ever heard really was like, you know, B.B. King, the kind of stuff my mother played.
Right.
And just remember, my mom brought home Africa Brass, John Coltrane, when I was 13.
Yeah. Okay.
First record she gave me, you know, and I put it on. She said, I think you'd like this. And I put it on, and that was it. So I learned pretty much all the tunes on there. And I started playing the bass line, Reggie Workman's bass line to he was right. I learned it on my electric right away. I learned it. And I was trying to get my electric to sound like an upright, you know.
Right.
And so I played that, and he said, boy, you need to go to a conservatory. And I was like, really? You think so? He's like, yeah. So you need to go to a conservatory because we need more young black bass players like you. His exact words. I never forgot them. And I was like, okay. So, you know, after I built up enough courage to call my dad, it took me a couple of days. And thank God I was in La Crosse, Wisconsin. He was back home in Racine, which is thousands of miles away.
There was distance between you.
I called my dad and I said, Dad, I'm going to transfer to a music conservatory next year. There's one in Milwaukee called the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music, and I'm going to go to school there. He was like, what? You ain't going to, you know, he went in there. And it's the first time I ever stood up to my dad, I said, I'm going.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going because I want this. I don't want to be a gym teacher. You know, I want to play bass. It's your fault. You know?
Exactly. I don't see you running up and down the basketball court. I don't.
What? Man, I had hops, man. I was dunking on people when I was in junior high school. My ankles weren't any good. That's the problem. I kept spraining them. You know. Anyways,
so you stuck to the base, which is a good move.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be in the NBA, but you know how kids are. So that next semester, after the summer break, man, I was walking up the steps to the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music with that same blue Fender bass. And there was another young brother walking up the steps. He had a Fender bass. We were the only two. We didn't have it. And I looked at him. He was from Virginia Beach. He passed. His name was James Benton, great bass player. And I was like, hey, man, you play bass? He's like, yeah. So what you got? He said, man, I got a red Fender Jazz. I had a blue one, you know. So we went in. I did the audition. David Hazeltine was playing piano because he went to school there during the audition. And a bunch of cats we know were there, you know.
Yeah.
So they asked me, you know, the guy said, can you play a blues? And of course I said, like B.B. King, you know. And David Hazeltine said, man, no, do you know the notes in your bass? I said, yeah. He said, do you know the chords? I said, somewhat. He said, just spell out the chords and walk in quarter notes boom, 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 boom. I said, oh, I can do that because I've been playing doom, 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 doom in church my whole life.
Right.
Much. And I did it, and I got in.
Nice.
Here's the funny thing, though. I saw Mel Tipton a few times more while I was living here in New York, but I played at his memorial when he passed in I think it was 50 bass choir, and I played in a trio with Tootie Heath and Tommy Flanagan at his memorial. But here's the other thing. Right now, in my office at Oberlin College and Conservatory, is Milt Tinton's bass, the same bass that I saw when I was in college.
His bass is there.
Yeah, it's in my office.
Wow.
Played every day.
Wow.
He donated his basses to Oberlin Conservatory.
Nice.
And every day I look at it, man.
And you ended up there.
It ended up there.
Yeah, you ended up there. That's after all that long journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a beautiful story, man. See, and I didn't, I've known you all these years. I didn't know all of that. I just knew, growing up in Racine, Wisconsin, and then you came to New York. That's all. That was like your story.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
I mean, I know we all got a story, and sometimes
everybody got a story. Some people don't. I don't really I'm not a horn tutor, man. I've never done that.
Right.
I'm grateful.
Right.
I'm just grateful for everything, man. The whole part of the journey up to this point, I'm grateful for everything, good, bad, ugly, all of it.
Right. And which is beautiful because ever since I've known you, you've always owned every day.
Yeah.
I've never heard you on a particular day like, oh man, I've never heard you down. You be like, hey man, this is what it is. Let's keep moving. So and it shows in your character, in how you deal with your students. I've seen you mentor young folks before, and the encouragement you give them. And on the bandstand, I've never played with you and it wasn't your top. Even when you were playing on the worst bass, and you looked at me like, D, I'm gonna break this bass by the end of the night. And by the end of the night, the neck was hanging, and you looked at me and said, "Mission accomplished." I'll just leave it as that. I'm not gonna go into the story, but you were so pissed off that night. He was like, "Man, I'm gonna break this bass."
Couldn't believe it, But I just came back from playing in Spain and in Italy, and man, I swear to God, some of them basses looked like they were Formica. I was like, "Is this a coffee table or a bass?" Should I put a glass of water on it? But
it's interesting because when you travel, a lot of people just don't know. I've experienced that before, playing on gigs with some prominent musician, and the drums they showed up was like XRP drum set, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And you can't tune them because the plastic heads is like really plastic heads. So some people just don't know. They really don't know. They want the music, but they don't understand what goes in, the quality level of what goes in, what you're bringing to the table. They have to match.
Yeah.
The
show must go on no matter what.
No matter what. No matter what.
I learned pretty fast when they stopped allowing us bass players to bring our basses on the plane or check them or whatever with flight cases, that getting mad at it doesn't do anything. Just going off.
You wasn't saying that back then. Not you wasn't saying that night.
It was new. It was new,
You was
I used
mad
to bring my own bass, man. Then I got stuck with this thing. It didn't even have an end pin. Come on.
It's all good, but I enjoyed that one, and I enjoyed that. That was, but nobody knew. That's the thing. Nobody knew. And like you said, the show was on, But at the end of the day, that attitude your attitude has carried you through some of the most prominent gigs on the scene. We've played with some prominent cats, but I've gone to shows where I've seen you play with some of my heroes, my idols, like Elvin, Elvin Jones and McCoy and a whole bunch of other cats. But those are two of the staple gigs that you had for years.
Yeah.
And you how should I say it? besides playing the gig, you represented well because those leaders, they respected you and relied on you.
Yeah, it's a blessing, man. I mean, one of the problems I believe with education, some of the professors, some of the educators today, is they have these theories that they have in their head, but they've never had a chance to practice them, try them out in real time.
Yeah.
In other words, they ain't never got cussed off for playing the wrong shit, man. right there, on the bandstand, in front of an audience.
In front of an audience, right.
Which you learn right away, like, that theory didn't work. Okay.
Right, exactly.
Find another way to do this.
Exactly.
So I can keep my gig.
Right.
And so that don't happen again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And, we both, this is an evolving thing, what we do, man. It's like you keep getting better and you find different theories and you find different ways of play. But we both have been consistently practicing our new and old theories in real time. It's not just something rolling in my head. I'm sitting around thinking, I think it would be better if the bass players would play more on the tips of their fingers.
Right.
Okay, do that. You ain't getting no sound, man.
Right. Plus the blisters you're going to get and all of that.
Yeah, your fingernails going to come up. And you don't get no sound. You got to put some finger on the bass, man.
Yeah. I mean, on-the-job training, that's one of the things, excuse me, when I first met Arthur Taylor, he used to talk about apprenticeship. And I mentioned this in one of the past interviews, I think with Jeremy Pell. We were talking about apprenticeship. When I first came to town, that still existed. Like, when you joined Elvin's band, you were there for a number of years, so you got to understand conceptually what was happening.
Yeah.
That don't really exist anymore because cats go to college, they get their degree, they play in college, and then cats, oh yeah, my boy goes to this school, he goes to that school, he can play, and they hire you, and there's no apprenticeship. And when I'm talking about apprenticeship, learning from someone, your senior. Like, your senior that's been out here for 40 plus years, that's giving you the information, plus allowing you, like you mentioned, to
work it out.
Theories, work it out, figure it out. You know, that's one of the things I've always treasured playing with like a John Faddis.
Mm-hmm.
But that type of apprenticeship don't exist anymore, and that's part of the problem.
Well, it does, but it's with us now.
Yeah.
I'm 66, man. You're 56. We done been around the world. We done did some stupid shit. We've learned from it. We've done some good shit, and we've learned from that. I mean, I was with Elvin for 9 years, man.
Mm-hmm.
In the whole 9 years I was with Elvin, I never used an amp, or he would not let me use a monitor. So all I had in front of me was an SM58 mic, and that's it.
Right.
And I could hear myself fine.
And you have to figure through all of that. And then, people think Elvin is a basher, but Elvin is one of the most sensitive drummers I've ever heard. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to play, with finesse, not force, because that's what was killing me the first year. I was trying to match, horns with them. And I was in the bathtub after every gig soaking, begging for Jesus to heal my body, man. Really. I had to learn how to project the sound.
Right.
Without yanking. And you see these young guys doing all this stuff and looking up from coming to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Let them do one set with Elvin trying that.
Right.
Cramps in the arms, all kind of like arthritis and stuff. But I had to learn how to project the sound, with finesse, man, and keep the momentum going at the same time.
And it's an art. I mean, because his style was so unique. I remember asking Bob Cranshaw one time, like, what was one of the most prominent gigs that he's ever done? And he said playing with Elvin Jones. He was like, the first time I played with Elvin Jones, I walked off like, what was that like? Because some cats give you 4 on the floor and they just mark the time, and Elvin had this thing, man. He's one of my favorites. But all of those cats, man, Art Blakey, Roy Haynes, Lewis Haynes. I mean,
Yep.
all those cats have their thing. And as a bass player, you in that anchor seat that has to you have to find that,
Right.
you know.
Have to navigate. I learned how to stand on my own 2 feet playing with Elvin. And
Yeah.
I was in my 40s when I got that gig, and I had played with a ton of great drummers,
Right.
including you. You
Yeah.
know, ton of great drummers, but none like Elvin.
Yeah.
And I had to, it's like, wait a minute. I know one is right here, but I'm not sure. I know I'm looking at my feet, man. So I know my quarter note is right here, but please, Lord, let this be one.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing, man. We could talk about Elvin all day,
all night, man.
all the other great drummers, but you had the pleasure of working with McCoy Tyner also.
Yeah, that was man, that was just a lesson in grace and spirituality, man.
Mm-hmm.
Playing with McCoy. I mean, both of those guys. One time I got to play with them both at the same time once.
Okay.
And in a trio setting, only one tune, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that was remarkable. But playing with McCoy, man, was just, man, I learned how to play, believe it or not, I learned how to play solo bass from watching McCoy play solo piano.
Mm.
It kind of took the fear whenever I used to play solo bass tune or something before McCoy, I'd get all nervous and get all in my head and try to think of some of the most remarkable, a wheel is a wheel. It's round, man. It ain't going to change.
Right, right.
And so, but watching McCoy every night, I'd always stand right on the side of the stage where I could, right behind him, just watching him just create this beautiful movie, man. Sometimes it would be just a beautiful, sad movie. Sometimes it would be almost a horror movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes it would be a mystery, depending on his mood, man. And the way he built up his climaxes and the way he just, sometimes he would just fade it off. And sometimes, I swear to God, man, I saw him do this twice. He would finish this long thing. He would go like this. And I swear his finger was this far from the piano key and a note came out.
Really?
I saw that twice, man. Nobody believes me, but I saw it. Okay. He would go he would finish this, and he would be leaning over and he'd go, but it didn't touch the key, man.
Wow.
And ping. But what I learned is don't worry about it. Create something when you're playing solo bass. Don't just be playing a bunch of arpeggios and crap.
Tell a story.
Turn it into your own story, and it don't have to be the story that everybody expects.
Right. Yeah.
It don't have to be a whole bunch of bass stuff. It just has to be a beautiful story, or if that's what you want, or whatever you're feeling, turn that into your solo bass playing. And yeah.
That's beautiful, man. And I know you've been influenced by McCoy and Elvin a lot to the point where you've paid homage to them in one project. And I want to talk about that because you shared some of that music with us. Yeah. And I know our listening audience is like, yeah, Gerald is talking, but we want to hear him play.
Yeah, okay.
So real quick, tell us about the inception of that project, and how it came to light, and then we'll jump into some of that music.
Okay. Yeah, I've been planning on this for a while, but I wanted to wait till, the right spiritual time, came around. I didn't want to just do it. Sometimes when people pass, great musicians pass, the band members immediately put out a tribute record to them. I didn't want to do that, man. I wanted to wait to have time for me to reflect on both of them, because I've always wanted to do a tribute to McCoy and to Elvin and McCoy, and so I started planning it. And then I called up the people at Disney's and said, hey, I want to do, a recording a tribute to Elvin and McCoy. And they're like, yeah. And so, I'm so grateful that everybody that called for the band was available.
Right.
I had Eddie Henderson on trumpet, Steve Toure on trombone, Joe Lovano on tenor sax, Sherman Irby on alto sax, Dave Kikowski on piano, and Lenny White on drums. That was the first time I ever played with Lenny. It was on that record day.
Okay.
I did the arrangements, put them together, sent them the music like a week before, 2 weeks before, and we had one rehearsal the day before the gig because I wanted it to be, and they all had played with Elvin or McCoy or both. Mm-hmm. So they all knew that I wanted cats that had played with one or the other or both, or that could capture that spirit, not be trying to sound exactly like McCoy on piano. There's a million of them.
Right.
Or trying to sound exactly like Elvin on the drums. Mm-hmm. That's not what I was looking for. I was looking for somebody that could capture that spirit. And if you can capture the spirit, naturally, the influences are going to come out.
Right.
Not playing McCoy's licks verbatim.
Right.
It's never going to happen. You're going to kill yourself trying that. I've played with piano players that have gone to the hospital, man. I'm serious. I ain't going to mention no names. Went to the hospital that Monday after 4 nights of trying to. Anyways, all right. But so that was the plan, and I feel like it captured it. It was beautiful, man. Everybody was just so into it, and I picked tunes that weren't, the greatest hit tunes, except for Elvin's tunes. 3-Card Molly. Come on, you have to do that.
Right. Yeah.
EJ's Blues. EJ's Blues, come on. Got to do those.
And that's typical Elvin because he wrote it after a card game.
Right.
Yeah.
And man, just thinking about that groove every time. We played that every night for 9 years. Mm-hmm. And man, just the coming off duty, boom, boom, yeah, in that swing, man. The sport fighting kind of thing. Anyways, yeah, it turned out beautiful, man. The spirit was high. We did 3 nights. I recorded the last 2 nights, and there you go.
Great.
I'm very excited about it. It's good. It got very high ratings. I just, things are good, man.
Great. And it's Gerald Cannon live at Dizzy's, the music of Elvin and McCoy. That's the title. Great. Well, let's check it out, man. Let's start listening to some of this wonderful music. And the first song is entitled Contemporary Focus.
Right. It's McCoy tune.
Let's check it out.
Ah,
Contemporary focus.
yeah. What do you think?
Oh man, I love it. It's a beautiful vibe, man. Great feel. You know, everybody's dealing.
Yeah,
Beautiful stuff, man. Beautiful stuff.
yeah,
You
man.
happy with the project? That's the main thing.
Oh yeah, I'm ecstatic with it, and it's my first venture doing a live record. and vinyl as well.
Okay.
So, and I have my own label, Woodneck Records. So I do it all. Me and my wife do all the everything. Mini.
Nice.
And,
Nice.
yeah, it's
That's
great. I enjoy it, man. Having my own label. I don't want to record. I don't want to be bothered.
I'm enjoying this, man. So let's move on to the next song. The next song is entitled Elements.
That's from my first record.
Okay, that's from your first record. Okay.
Yeah.
So who's on this? Elements.
Sherman, Montez Coleman, God rest his soul, and Rick Germanson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, that is from the first record. Yeah.
Yep. Nice. Okay, well, let's check it out. Elements. Gerald Cannon. Elements. Yeah, bro, you got some fans that's digging and enjoying the music. You know, one of them is saying soothing, melodious, great, smooth, loving it.
Ah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
Everybody,
I see that.
that was
Mason
from the first
Stockbridge.
CD, right? That was from your first CD.
That's from my first CD. Yeah, Jesus. I think it
Yeah.
was in 2000 or 2001 or something.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. Great stuff and great musicians, man.
yeah.
That you have on the recordings. So I'm enjoying it, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, great. So you've done a lot of you've done a lot of different things as a composer and as a arranger, and you've
Mhm.
done film scoring and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
one of the things I always admire is when I hear you talk about, especially when we go hear cats play and you come in and you're like, yeah, man,
Yeah.
they can play the blues. Oh man, they need to learn the blues. It's like the
Yeah.
blues is something that's really embedded in your playing and embedded in you, and it's important.
Yeah. It's the foundation of this music, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the foundation of all African American music. Let's get real here.
Yes, it's
Gospel and
important.
blues, man. It's
Yeah.
McCoy Tyner, man. It's complex or whatever, as some people think, and it is. I mean, it's McCoy. He always talked about the blues. That's all he ever talked about.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, man, you got to play the blues.
Mm-hmm.
You would think, and I asked him, man, he didn't like to talk about too much what he was doing because I think it was more of a spiritual thing for him. But he would always say, it's all about the blues, Gerald. That's it.
Yeah.
Got to play the blues, man, no matter. And you can hear it in the most detailed,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
stuff you can still hear the blues.
Definitely. Well, we're gonna check out this other tune, but one of our audience is asking who was the sax player. I just want to let them know that was Sherman Irby on that last tune, Elements, performing. But I would like for us to continue, and this is entitled Blues in the Minor.
Yeah, that's another McCoy tune from our latest record.
Yeah, let's check it out, Blues in the Minor. Blues in the minor.
Yeah.
Y'all went into something behind the last sax solo when it started. You went into some,
Yeah.
counter rhythmical,
Yeah.
the canyon in the house.
Yeah, exactly. You know where that came from. That's some that's behind, I think, Sherman solo, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I don't know who it was, but I couldn't hear. But also I wanted to mention that if anybody's interested, that can be purchased on my website, which is www.cannon, CANNON, music, N, the letter N, art.com. And also on audiophile, USA.com.
Great. And then you're on Facebook, Instagram, the social platforms. Yeah.
All that. Yeah.
Yeah. Great, man. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful music. I mean, the project is a labor of love. I know you put a lot into it, and I remember talking to you when you were working on it, and it sounds beautiful. And you're doing great things. So you're teaching at 2 institutions, right?
I am.
Yeah.
I'm teaching at Juilliard. I teach bass. Well, actually, this year I have trumpet and drum students, but primarily bass, and I teach rhythm section class there. And I teach at Oberlin College and Conservatory, jazz bass professor there, and I teach, jazz bass. I teach jazz improv 101 and 102. I coach ensembles there at Oberlin. Yeah.
That's a lot going on. And we didn't really get a chance to touch on this. We have one more song to play, but I want to just kind of share this with our audience that you are a very accomplished artist as well, a painter.
I am. I'm an abstract expressionist.
Yes.
Artist. Yeah, and it's the same thing. Dion, you probably didn't even know for the first 15 years of knowing me that I was a painter because I kept it.
I didn't. I didn't. I found out when you moved to Edgecombe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we would come up there for rehearsals, and Ronnie Matthews, Teray, Larry Willis, what, for those
Yeah.
rehearsals, like, that's when I would pass by that room and be like, what's in there?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. No.
He's like, and that's what you said, don't worry about it, man. That's just my thing. And then, but over the years of traveling, during our travels, sitting next to each other on the plane, or on the bus, or on the train, just talking, and you started sharing that stuff with me. It impressed me to the point that I even hit you up for some of your paintings for different projects I was doing. But I wanted our audience to know that your creativity is not only in music, but it's also in other forms of the art as well. So they should, when they go to your website, they should check that out as well.
Yeah, and I've been doing it just as long as I started drawing and painting when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it this whole time. I always kept it separate. That was kind of my little separate two worlds of my painter friends and my musicians. And then it got to the point where it's like, wait, it's all art, man.
It's all art, yeah.
It's all related to what I do, to who I am. So
who you are, not what you do, but who you are. The complex side of Gerald Cannon.
Yeah. It can be complex, but
but it's great, man. And I'm just gonna say this, man. I've just really appreciated your friendship over the years, man.
Likewise, D. Yeah. Likewise, man.
Whether it's in New York hanging out, or down here in the islands, or going to the PVI, and
right, exactly.
It's always, or in Russia in the snowstorm, getting caught in the snowstorm. It's always, because regardless of what happens, once we got on the bandstand, it was just business as usual.
Yeah, because that's where it counts, anyways.
Yeah. So it's been a pleasure, man. We're gonna close with this last song that you shared with us. And again, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for the project. Gerald Cannon live at Disease.
Hold on. They can see. Here you go. It's on vinyl and CD. Bam.
Vinyl. Gerald Cannon live at Disease. The music of Elvin and McCoy.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. And the last comment has Smoking Bro. Great arrangement, complex melodies. This made my night. So it's been entertaining. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show. It's been very informative, man. Of the great work. And we're going to catch up the next time in the city.
Let's catch up soon.
Yes, sir. Right. This is Gerald Cannon. We're going to close out with A Thought. A Thought.
It's on my second record.
From his second record. There you go. Okay. That was a thought by the one and only Mr. Gerald Cannon. It's been a pleasure having him on the show tonight. And as you could tell, he's doing some great things as a musician, educator, band leader, composer, arranger, and as an artist. So we had so much fun with him on the show tonight. Join me next week as we bring to the stage the one and only Miss Andromeda Torre. She just released her first CD, and she's doing amazing things out here as a vocalist and entertainer. So we look forward to having Andromeda Torre on the show next week. All right. Thank you for joining me tonight with our special guest, Mr. Gerald Cannon, on Sounds of the Diaspora. You guys take care and see you soon. All the best.
JBH Boutique Care offers you a unique exclusive membership in our nationwide concierge medical services network. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Judine Bontemps-Hill. I'm double board certified in family and obesity medicine. We pair exclusive personalized care with accessibility and convenience. A better way for you to receive immediate quality medical care. Whether at our main Orlando, Florida office, traveling across the U.S. or visiting the States, we bring you the best medical care without waiting for an appointment. Become a member today by calling 407-234-5282 or visit us online at jbhmed1.com. JBH Boutique Care is proud to sponsor Sounds of the Diaspora, music and conversations with artists and host Dion Parson, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Source TV Radio Network, WTSN, Washington, D.C.